Cloud. All right, recording is in progress, guys. FYI, I just want to let you know. Welcome. So today we're going to talk about stable coins, and obviously we shared some of the strategies on the platform. I'm trying to share my screen now. So today I want to talk to you guys about some of them. All right, first things first. Let's cover exactly. So when we say stable coins, what exactly are we referring to? And so stable coins, are they cryptocurrency? Yes. So obviously this is the first question I get. Can you guys see my screen, by the way? I just want to make sure.
Yep.
Okay, great. So are they cryptocurrencies? Yes, of course they are. But the main thing is that a stablecoin is a cryptocurrency with a twist. All right. So it's really pegged. This is the main thing I want to highlight here. A stablecoin is it's not mined or forged like proof of work or proof of stake network, but just understand that it's still an open distributed network of computers, or like a ledger, like a blockchain. And basically it keeps track of transactions. But more importantly, the key here is that stable coins are pegged to other underlying assets. So within the concept of DeFi, we typically refer to stable coins or coins that are pegged to fiat currencies. And just to gauge and make sure I'm keep in mind, do you guys understand what I mean by fiat currencies?
Like not gold, right?
Yeah, well, fiat currencies are pretty much, yes, not gold, but they're pretty much any traditional or regular national currency that I can think of. Like the US dollar is a fiat currency. Naira for Nigeria is a fiat currency. The pound sterling for Great Britain, fiat currency. The euros for Europe, fiat currency. So fiat currencies are just the typical traditional national currencies for different countries that were used, or continents in the case of euros, that we're used to seeing and that we use to transact in our regular traditional finance sense, right? And obviously in the US, that's the US dollar. So basically a stable coin, especially the ones I refer to and the ones that are prominent, are the US dollar stable coin, largely because the US dollar, of course, is referred to as the global reserve asset, if you will. So if you think about it, a lot of nations' economies depends on the US dollar thriving, right? So that's referred to as the global reserve currency for the world. And so a lot of stable coins that you see, so for instance, if I go now and go to coin market cap, and I've showed this before, if I go to coinmarketcap.com and I click and I go down here to you see that the first stable coin that you see on coinmarketcap.com is Tether. That's a US dollar stable coin. You see the next one, which is the 6th by market cap, that's US dollar coin, USDC. So in the top 10 of cryptocurrencies by market cap, you see that 2 of them are US dollar stable coins, and you see that no other currency stable coins are in the top 10. And again, there's a reason for that, because obviously the bulk of the stablecoin activity occurs with the ones that are pegged to the US dollar. Any questions so far?
Yes. So like, what is the point of a stable coin then? Like,
great question. So the point of a stable coin, think of stable coins as a way to get, so I'm going to talk within the concept of the US dollar just for simplicity. So think of them as a way to get the US dollar on chain. So obviously the US dollar as is. So let me ask you, so just in a very simplified manner, the US dollar in your bank account today, you cannot do any transactions, you cannot do any, for instance, you want to use it for smart contracts, for different DeFi protocols, for instance, you can't do anything with it on the blockchain because it's, it's in your bank account. Does that make sense? So stable coins are a way to collect that dollar that is in your bank account and to do really cool stuff with it on the blockchain. So that's why it's pegged, right? So the way it works is basically there's something called minting. It's called minting. So for instance, if somebody or a whale, for instance, has like $50 million, for instance, in their bank account, and they want to do stuff with it on the blockchain. Okay, you guys still see my screen? Just want to make sure.
yeah.
Okay, perfect. So it's somebody has $50 million. Hello?
Hey, David. Sorry. This is Kumi. I just joined in.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so we're just talking about going over stablecoin. So if someone has like $50 million and they want to do stuff with that on the blockchain, like for instance, earn yield or yield farm, like we're going to cover today, they need to find a way to convert that $50 million in your bank account to $50 million on the blockchain. And that bridge to make that happen is stablecoins, because they'll take the $50 million and essentially what happens is that they deposit it and then in return, they mint $50 million of whatever stablecoin that they receive, and it's pegged again, to that 50 million. The whole idea is that essentially the stable coins should be pegged or backed by actual dollars. Does that make sense?
Yeah, got it.
Okay.
No, wait, could you explain that again? I'm sorry.
Okay, so I'm going to, for the sake of time, I'm not going to repeat questions too much, just so we can actually move on to other stuff. This is going to be recorded, so if you need to just go back and refresh and re-listen or rewatch the meeting, you can, okay? So just to repeat for the last time, stable coins, and I've highlighted it on the screen, there are cryptocurrencies that are pegged to other assets. So the concept of, so Nima's question, Nima was like, so what's the point of stable coins? I'm like, well, because your dollar as is in your bank account cannot be transacted on the blockchain. So if you want to use your dollar for different smart contracts, or to, for instance, you want to lend your dollar, or even if you want to borrow a dollar on the blockchain, you can't do that with your regular US dollar in your bank account because it's not a cryptocurrency. So a way to get your dollar on the blockchain is via stablecoins, and that's where stablecoins come in. Does that make sense?
So I think that's the part that I'm getting lost at. So what do you mean so what do you mean by the dollars in your bank account can't be on the blockchain?
Because is it on the blockchain?
Unfortunately, there are very few people in the company.
I guess I'll just rewatch it. I'll just review it.
Yeah, so what I mean by like, so I mean, no, but that was an honest question. Like, it's not on the blockchain, right? It's in your bank account.
That's correct.
Right. So to get it on the blockchain, you need stablecoins, because stablecoins are cryptocurrencies, right? So you have, for instance, okay, so perfect example. If I wanted to get $2,000, right, to, let's say, okay, so let's just jump ahead a little bit. So if I go to Instadapp today, right, I see on Instadapp today that, oh shit, they are gonna pay me around roughly 35% APY just to borrow my dollar, right? To get my dollar from my bank account to Instadapp, so this is Aave Marketplace on Polygon, so I can earn 35% yield, I will need to take my dollar in my traditional bank account and get it on the blockchain. And that's where stablecoins come in. So for instance, I could take my dollars, if I have $2,000 in my bank account, I could take the $2,000 in my bank account and I could buy $2,000 worth of USDT. So Tether, which is a stablecoin.
Oh, okay. I think
then I can use this Tether. I can use this Tether. So since this is on Polygon, I can use this Tether. I can supply to this protocol, get 35% yield. Let's say if I'm done, I can then supply to like VesperFi or any other protocol on Polygon. Or even if I want to send it to another blockchain, I could bridge it to Ethereum, AVAX, whichever one really. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's almost like a loan.
If you're not, 1 second, sorry, I'm sorry. If you're not commenting, please mute yourself. I don't know whose phone that was. If you're not asking a question, please mute yourself. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's almost like a loan or kind of like a savings bond with US Treasury.
Yeah, you could say that. It's not, I would say it's a loan. It's more like minting. So for instance, so you know how like, so yeah, it's, so in the case of stable coins, the idea is it's backed one-to-one. So it's almost like, you can think about it as a loan, but I think of it more like minting. So the same idea how in the past, the whole point of what they call the gold standard for the US dollar was, the idea was that you could exchange your notes, right? So your dollar notes for a certain amount of gold. So that was the whole idea behind the gold standard, right? Before we switched to fiat currency. With the case of stablecoins, the idea is that you can exchange your dollar notes for a one-to-one equivalent of a stable coin, which is the US dollar stable coin on a blockchain. So you can do cool stuff with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay, yeah, it makes sense now.
All right, perfect. So moving on from stablecoins, right? So stablecoins is, so the reason why I introduced stablecoins, because obviously cryptocurrencies, we tend to think of cryptocurrencies in the traditional sense of like Bitcoin, Ethereum. Of course, then we have the meme coins like Shiba Inu, which did madness last year. But people forget that, oh, wow, there's actually a group of cryptocurrencies that are not volatile. In fact, they are designed to stay or remain constant. But again, they provide a lot of value because if you think of it, you need stable coins or some level of stability to essentially back whatever financial system you're building. The same way you need dollars as reserve assets in the traditional finance sense, the same way you need stable coins as reserve assets in the DeFi sense. And so that's why stablecoins are very important. And I'll honestly, if you follow my personal Twitter, you see me talk about it all the time. I believe stablecoins are the gateway drugs for people to DeFi. And to even top it off, I believe strongly that also stablecoins are really where there's a lot of innovation going on right now. We're even hearing about things like UST, right, which is supposed to be a decentralized stablecoin and so on and so forth, right? So anyways, the whole point of this is not to talk about stablecoins. I just want to set the table so people understand stablecoins. Whenever time I refer to stablecoins, you know what I'm talking about. But more importantly, I'm just going to, moving forward, when you hear me say, use your US dollar to earn so yield with any blockchain protocol, understand that I'm referring to a stablecoin. Does that make sense? Because obviously your traditional dollar in the traditional sense is not on the blockchain, and obviously you can't use it to interact with these different smart contract protocols. Make sense? Make sense? Anybody? Just want to make sure y'all still following.
Yeah, bro.
All right.
Yeah,
I bet. And so any questions so far before we move on? All right, perfect. I like the sound of that. So the first one, obviously, in the traditional sense, obviously, I'm going to start with the basics, right? So this is the first time I feel like, and honestly, this was a long time coming. I would personally apologize for just introducing this. The reason why I made this post, by the way, which was around Thanksgiving time, is because I realized that, like, you know, we talk about all these more advanced, obviously, bigger things happening in DeFi and like, but we know we forget the simple stuff. And I feel like, honestly, like, so when I was having a conversation with my parents and I was having a conversation with my aunts, and we're talking about, like, you know, just even earning yield on your traditional savings and how, like, oh yeah, you can, and I was like, yeah, I just said it casually, you can earn like a cushy 10, 11%, pretty risk-free with DeFi, with your, any stable coin really. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, you can essentially beat the S&P 500 with your stable coins. And, you know, that was so like profound to them. And I just had a realization like, we haven't even discussed this simple concept on the Patreon yet. So that's essentially why during the Thanksgiving break, while you guys were enjoying Thanksgiving, I was making this post because I really wanted to emphasize that, like, you know, this really is one of the amazing things about DeFi and why essentially I consider right now early, because obviously, as you can imagine, as mass adoption continues and as adoption grows, these really nice, juicy yields that we're getting won't be commonplace. Obviously, things will drop significantly. So while you're a year early, take advantage of them. That's the way I look at it, really. That's one of the advantages of being an early mover is you have key opportunities like this you can take advantage of. So we've covered stable coins. And then, so in this one, I just wanted to introduce you guys to certain platforms. The main platforms we discussed in this post were first BlockFi. We talked about BlockFi, and that's predominantly for US patrons. We talked about BlockFi, and then we talked about Binance, and we talked about Nexo, and then later on also talked about Celsius. Celsius is not, so Binance, Nexo, and Celsius you can use outside the US. BlockFi, unless they've changed it since I made this post, I believe it's predominantly just for those in the US. I think you can't even use it in New York, to my understanding. I believe a patron who was based in New York told me that for whatever reason, he wasn't able to activate his account. But I put everything there just to know that, okay, BlockFi is not working, you've got options. And right here, I also have your interest rates, so you can see what I'm referring to. So with BlockFi, so for instance, Day is a stable coin, there's BSD, which is Binance USD, I think is the third largest stable coin by market cap. USDT, which we talked about earlier, is having the largest. So basically up to 40,000 US dollar, you earn 9.5%. For the amounts greater than 40,000 US dollar, you'll be earning 8.5%. USDC 9 and 8%. So yeah, so it's basically just hovering around that 8 to 9.5% range. Celsius is different because their interest rates change weekly. Celsius is pretty cool because Celsius actually, they pay you your interest in the bulk every Monday. So they call Mondays payday, which is, I think is a really, so Celsius is very interesting because they have succeeded in essentially growing a community. They call them Celsians, SELSIANS, of users who are using Celsius and earning yield with them. And so going back to Celsius, yeah, so again, you see 8.5% pretty much all through, and then you don't have to worry about these two, but basically 8.5%, pretty much all the prominent stable coins.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So what is Celsius?
It's just a CeFi platform. So CeFi, centralized finance. So BlockFi, Celsius, Nexo, these are all centralized platforms that leverage DeFi meaning decentralized finance on the back end. So think about it this way, right? So you know how we talk about our traditional bank accounts in a sense, and they say how, okay, so your high yield, well, before the Feds dropped rates stupidly low, the whole premise or appeal to high yield interest savings accounts is that they were giving you better interests. And the whole idea was that all these banks take your money anyways to invest in low risk investment strategies in the Forex markets to earn, like maybe they'll earn anywhere from 8 to 10% interest. And then in return, they're paying you like 0.5% interest, right? And collecting the bulk share of that. And so obviously these CFI platforms, CFI again, meaning centralized finance, they function the same way, but again, unlike banks, right, and dealing in the Forex markets, they're actually taking your stable coins and they're playing with them around with DeFi. And I'll show you some of those things they do in the back end in the following post. I just want to start with a very simple ones. This is almost like, I'll consider this like, for instance, if you were to try and introduce your parents, for instance, to crypto and DeFi and using stable coins, and you know, maybe trying to set them up with a wallet and connect them to, like, let's say a DeFi smart account, like on Instadapp, like we'll talk about shortly. You know, all those things might be too complex for them. So these platforms are just like what I give to like my family members, like, hey, check these out, because these on the front end, all you have to do is set up your account. You can even connect directly your bank account to these platforms. You can directly purchase USDC, USDT on the platform, and that's it. So as soon as you purchase these stable coins, you're already earning yield in the account. And so that's why I say the front end from a user experience standpoint is amazing. In fact, if you're asking me what is the advantage of using these platforms over the things we'll talk about later with yield farming, is simply just UX, user experience. It's simplified, it's easy. And in fact, personally, I've said this before, that's one of the biggest hurdles now with DeFi. A lot of the different protocols, the user experience is not so straightforward, which is probably why a lot of you guys asked me to do this, and that's why I get it. But again, these platforms sort of like make that bridge. But of course, as you can see, whereas these platforms only give you 8.5%, if you're actively yield farming, you can actually get up to 35% APY, which we'll talk about later. Does that answer your question, Kumi?
It did. Thanks.
Awesome. So yeah, so Celsius, again, interest rates right there, 8.5. Next,
David.
so yes,
David.
yeah.
Hey, do you still got any tier 4 spot stuff? I've been trying to sign up. My Patreon been acting up. I meant to message you today.
Do you still have any tier 4 spots? Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
okay.
3.
Yeah, it's been messing up. I'm trying to still sign up. So keep me in mind. I'm trying to sign up, but right now my Patreon.
Okay, just shoot me a note after this call, okay?
I got you.
All right, bro. So yeah, so Nexo is again one of my favorites. Nexo, to my understanding, I don't think there's any. There's a few countries, outliers, that maybe aren't allowed to use Nexo for regulatory standpoints. But Nexo, you can have patrons in Nigeria using Nexo, right? So I like Nexo because it even has the best APR from any CFI platform that I've seen, right? You can see you can earn up to 12%. And if you choose to earn in Nexo, actually, you just add 2% to it. Although I don't recommend earning in Nexo, just earn in kind. It's okay. You can sacrifice 2% yield just because Nexo is a very volatile asset, and I'm not bullish on this asset whatsoever. So I'm just saying that I just recommend earning in kind. And like I said, yeah, 12% on Tether, USDC, and pretty much all the top stable coins. You can even earn, obviously, aside from stable coins, you can earn, like, we're going to talk about Matic, earning in Matic later, 8%, 16% on Matic, 8% on ETH and BTC, and yada, yada, yada. You get the drill. It's, again, similar concept, a CFI platform using DeFi on the back end, offering cushy yield. And so that's the summary of this first post right here when I'm like, okay, earn up to 12.5% with your savings, because I sent this back in November. Obviously, I don't know if you guys saw my alert that I sent out today. Inflation is real, it's getting crazy. We're seeing 7% in the US, but I think I was speaking to a friend earlier today that said it's probably something closer to like 16, 17% in Nigeria. And I can imagine, and also 50% in Argentina. The point I'm trying to make is that inflation is getting crazy, and I really wanted to from November till now, I've been, obviously you guys have probably seen me post more and more about yield farming and earning yield with stable coins. So specifically yield farming with stable coins is called stable farming. So if you ever hear me say stable farm or stable farming, that just simply means yield farming, earning yield, or literally searching for the best yield in DeFi with your stable coin. So that's yield farming, right? And but I wanted to introduce these first as just a simple way. If you're the kind of person that you have no interest with playing around with DeFi, you just want to earn that good yield, beat inflation, these platforms are your guys. So any questions on these so far?
I have one. It's a yes or no question, so it'll be quick. Can you take out money just as easily as you would if you had like a savings account, or is it locked in?
Great question. So let's talk about that. So Celsius is one, in my experience, it's been 1 to 3 business days. So I said Celsius, sorry. BlockFi, is 1 to 3 business days. So every time you withdraw with BlockFi, just understand that it will take 1 to 3 business days. It's not immediate. Now, however, but BlockFi gives you 1 free withdrawal a month, and then every withdrawal after that is $50. So Celsius is actually instant. So Celsius, what you can do is, if you're doing direct, so there are 2 options. If you're doing direct deposits, like withdrawal, so you withdraw to your bank, same thing, 1 to 2 business days, as you can imagine. But Celsius also has the option where you can put a USDC address. So does BlockFi too, but BlockFi too, even if you put whatever or cryptocurrency address or wallet address, it still takes 1 to 2 business days. But with Celsius, actually, if you're withdrawing like via a wallet address, it's instant. So so pretty much it occurs immediately. Now your first withdrawal, so every time you're using the address for the first time, they have a 24-hour verification process. But after that 24-hour verification process, every withdrawal after that is instant. So for instance, if I have money now, I want to withdraw $1,000 right now from my Celsius account, I just have to put my USDC address, withdraw it. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll withdraw to, I could withdraw to Coinbase, for instance, my Coinbase exchange, and then withdraw to my bank, because Coinbase too is pretty good. With Bank of America and Coinbase, sometimes I get my money the same day. So
Question, especially because you just brought up Coinbase. Do you know why it takes so long to convert or send over like the USDC or the coins to BlockFi from Coinbase? It takes like 7 days.
to BlockFi from Coinbase?
Yeah, so like
Really?
I found this YouTube video that explained to me like their process and how they did it from your thing. And basically like I bought USDC from Coinbase and then I sent that to my BlockFi.
So was that your first time using Coinbase?
Yeah.
That might be it. And I don't know if you know this, with BlockFi you can buy it directly, so you don't have to go through Coinbase.
Really?
Right?
Okay, I
Yes.
didn't know.
Yeah, so with BlockFi, you actually, and that one will appear in your account immediately. Okay. So in BlockFi, you go to BlockFi, right? So just like act like you want to purchase, so click on the trade button. And if you do trade, so if you go to BlockFi, you're on the dashboard. If you click trade, you see it will give you an option to essentially, you have to first link your bank account to it though. So once you've linked your bank account to it, it will give you the option to save from. You can select your bank account, and then 2, you select whatever stablecoin you want to purchase. And it's great. The reason why I said purchasing in BlockFi directly is because BlockFi 2 has one really cool thing I should probably mention, where essentially with BlockFi, right? It's something they call like I forgot what's the name. Hold on, let me get the exact name that they use. They call it so basically it's basically where they essentially reward their platform users. Basically, if you make trades on their platform, they give you some remittance. Yes, that's what they call it, remittance. They give you some remittance as like in form of payment. So that's really cool. But Celsius, on the other hand, 100% no fees. So that's why I like Celsius too. There's no fees to trade. So whether you're even buying a non-stable coin like ETH or whatever, there are no fees to trade, no fees to withdraw, no fees to transfer, no fees to do anything.
Got it. Good
So
to know.
that's why I like Celsius too. So typically sometimes also you can use both really. But yeah, does that make sense?
Could you also like send coins from BlockFi to Celsius?
Can you send coins from where now?
Like, could you send your coins from?
Yes, yes, you can. So again, you just have to, so when you're withdrawing, like I said, if you're withdrawing from BlockFi, you just have to withdraw to a cryptocurrency address and you put the address from Celsius on there. And then once you put the address for Celsius there, keep in mind it takes 1 to 2 business days. That's the only thing, like I said, with Celsius, the withdrawal is instant, with BlockFi, not so much.
Got it. Good to know.
Oh, all right. Are there any significant fees on Celsius? No fees on Celsius, Ife. I just talked about that. Nexo, I don't use Nexo a whole lot, if I'm being honest with you. So I'm not too sure. I'm not sure. I know some patrons are using it and they love it. They think it's cool. I'm not sure as far as fees and withdrawals go, but I'm sure if you Google that, you can probably find info on that. All right. So moving on, so that's the first thing. We talked about stablecoins. We talked about essentially how to use all these different CeFi platforms to earn anywhere from 8.5% to 12.5% with your savings. So I'm saying all this to say if you're a patron and you're on the platform, at the very least, you should be doing this. Even if you don't want to, while you get more comfortable with the other posts, at the very least, this post that was posted November 28, 2021, you should do this. It's straightforward. If you have any questions, reach out. But again, it's pretty self-explanatory, right? So the next.
This is a better way to even like a better place to like keep your emergency funds, right? Or like anything.
Yeah.
Or is there risk?
Well, I can't say anything is 100% risk-free. Even keep your money in the bank is not risk-free. That's why you have FDIC insurance. However, what I would say is yes, to answer your question, it is a good way to earn yield on your emergency savings. Now, for those who are tier 3, tier 4 patrons here, when we've had our 1-on-1s, you guys know, I personally say I still keep some cushy amounts in the bank account just for those emergencies that can't wait 1 or 2 business days for funds to come in. So I keep some in the bank account to handle those. I know patrons have mentioned that they use their credit cards for when those emergencies come up. I'm like, everything is up to your discretion, whatever you're comfortable with. I know personally, I'm comfortable having like a certain amount in the bank regardless. But yes, to answer your question, yes, that's the idea. I tell patrons, hey, that amount that you need for that peace of mind, but yes, the rest of your emergency funds, if you want to, you can put it here. In fact, I recommend if you're gonna put your emergency funds, I would prefer you put it on DCFi platform because to some degree, they also have insurance on your funds in there rather than the ones we're about to discuss. Because these ones, you're actually in the trenches yield farming, right? And so this one would bear more risk. I definitely will recommend putting all your emergency funds in this because again, you have to keep in mind these bear risk. Make sense?
Bet.
All right. So the next one we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about stable farming on Instadapp, which is right here. Right, stable farming on Instadapp, Aave Marketplace on Polygon, and for 20% plus APY. So I have the steps here. Now, has anyone, before we proceed, because I don't want to baby you guys, because the steps were outlined there. But before we proceed, did anyone go through this and find anything confusing specifically? So that's a no. So
I was honestly kind of scared to try David. Ain't gonna lie. I was just like, this seems like a lot. I'm scared to mess up and like.
So that's the thing. So okay, well, I mean, that's why you start with $100 or $200, right? You start with something you're comfortable with. But that's the thing, though. Like it's actually pretty straightforward. I know a lot of these things. So there's the thing with DeFi. They call us degenerates, right? So people intentionally try. It's the same way. Think about the same way before you started investing. How that whole world of investing seemed so complicated, especially if you started investing pre-COVID. I think COVID, everybody, there was just this craze with investing. It's almost like you should be investing. So everybody is like on it now. But there was a time where nobody, like it wasn't so commonplace, especially for those of us who started investing 2016, 2017 back then, right? Before then, like investing seemed like this, oh, it's so complicated. Only people on Wall Street seem to know what they're doing. And then you get into it, you're like, oh, it's not that bad. It's the same thing with DeFi. I tell people all the time, that hump about feeling intimidated, you have to get rid of that because once you get comfortable with playing around with it, you find out a lot of these things aren't bad. And a lot of these things, I promise, if you provided you, even though you just apply yourself, it will be fairly straightforward. And the steps, I intentionally try to do it step by step, right? So we'll skip a lot of steps because I already have things set up. I'm just gonna walk you guys through this, right? So what do you need? And I literally break it down to like what you, obviously we talked about stable coins. So, and if you joined late and you missed it, just refer to early in this video and you can click that post and you see resources there. So now to get set up, what do you need? You need day or the amount you wish to earn yield on, basically, right? Whatever. So if it's day, any stable coin, I say day, but really it could be any stable coin. You need Ether or Ethereum, as people call it. It was $20 to $40 worth then because gas fees were low. Gas fees ain't low no more. But however, I will talk about this actually because I found out a way, something that a patron shared with me. Let's keep that in mind. If you're concerned with gas fees, there is a way to essentially avoid it. And we'll talk about that today. You need your mattage, of course, not a whole lot. In fact, $5, $10 is too much. You need $2 because transactions, unless when the network is overloaded, transactions are like 2-3 cents, right? It's really cheap on Polygon. I need a hot wallet, right? I say MetaMask just because I like using MetaMask, but really it could be any hot wallet you want. It's your choice. MetaMask is just, again, yeah. Anyways, so if you're using Coinbase wallet, you don't need to add Polygon to your Coinbase wallet because it's already added, right? So if you go to your wallet, right, go all the way to the right. If you open your Coinbase, not Coinbase Exchange, so just to keep in mind, Coinbase Exchange is separate from Coinbase wallets, right? So if you go to Coinbase wallet, click on the third icon on the right, which is the settings icon. So when you see connections /dApp browser, you see default network. If you click on that, you see under main nets. The main nets itself is Ethereum. And then you scroll all the way down, you see Polygon under the main. So not test nets. You don't need to worry about test nets. But under main nets, you see main nets, which is Ethereum, and you see Polygon. So if you need to use Polygon, you just have to literally just select Polygon, and you're using Polygon on your wallet. I just want to put that out there. But obviously, if you're using MetaMask and you've never added Addition Network to it before, it doesn't come already by default added. So you just need to add it, and it's very simple. So right, if you go to your MetaMask, you go to your settings, you go to advanced settings, you go to add network, and you literally just typing these things out as outlined. And you just hit save.
If you have Coinbase, you don't need the MetaMask?
No, I didn't say that. I say if you have Coinbase, you don't need to add managed network to it because it's already added for you. Managed or Polygon network is the same thing, right? But if you have MetaMask, you need to add it, right? And in MetaMask, how to add it is you go to your tabs, you go to settings, you go to networks, and you click add network. And you just type these in. When you click add network, it will show up with these things on blank, right? So you just type these in as there, you hit save, and you've added the network, right? So it's that straightforward. So once you've added the network, you then need to transfer your assets day and manage from Ethereum to Polygon. Now, step 3, I show you how to do it using website. However, I want to say something. If you have Binance, not Binance US, but Binance, because Binance US obviously is separate from Binance, for those who don't know. But if you have Binance, and if you're in the US, just download a VPN. Make sure you're always using the VPN when you open the app. And make sure when you take your VPN off, you're taking off your VPN, you close the app first, because you have to be careful because you're not supposed to be using Binance. I don't even know if this is illegal that I'm saying this, but you're not supposed to be using Binance app or platform in the US, right? So those who have tried, you know this. Rather, Binance will refer you to Binance.us, which is technically same parent company, but separate companies, just for regulatory purposes. Now that's clear. If you have Binance, okay, you can purchase day and manage or whatever. So you don't even need Ether. You just purchase day and manage in a platform. And when you're withdrawing your funds, you can just withdraw your funds, but just when you're selecting the network, you just have to select Polygon, right? So you select Polygon network on your phone. So that means that's literally telling Binance that when they're sending your funds out of the exchange to whatever address you give it. They're sending it on the Polygon network because it's supported. Withdrawals to Polygon are supported on Binance. So does that make sense? And the fees are much cheaper than bridging, which we discussed in this post. And also, so obviously, if you're going to withdraw with Binance on Polygon network, you first, obviously, if you're using MetaMask, you add the network. And then once you add the network, you just go to the top of MetaMask, you select the network, and you copy the address. And that's the address that you're going to withdraw to in Binance. Does that make sense? Any questions?
Yeah, quick
David.
question. So I know you posted something about DPI and being able to stake it. Is this part of those steps, or is that separate?
No. This is separate. That's a separate post. We're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Okay, yeah, because
So you guys, just for sake of time, please. We're getting there. I promise you we will, but just keep questions related to like what we're talking about so far. Because I mean, it's just for just for the sake of time, we're gonna get there, but I just want to make sure we're not confusing other patrons listening by jumping ahead to stuff that we haven't even discussed yet on this call. Okay,
David.
Hey, David, could you
Yeah.
scroll up to the top? I want to see the title of this particular post. Okay, thanks.
December 19th.
So David, when you say we need to have these amounts, do we buy them on Coinbase for like the amount of DAI that we want to buy and stuff like that? What do we?
So you can again, if you're using Coinbase, you can buy them on Coinbase and then you just send them to your MetaMask. Okay, and that's fine. If you're gonna do that, like I said, Coinbase supports withdrawals to Ethereum only. So ERC20 tokens, that means only the Ethereum network, right? So that's why I said if you're going to use Coinbase, then you're going to have to bridge, meaning that, so that's where we outline in this step. So if you click, like once I click this link, you see it takes you to a website, right? It's called wallet.polygon.technology. This is how you bridge from Ethereum, because you have to remember, this is stable farming on what network is that? Polygon, right? But Coinbase, like I said, is on the Ethereum network. So to get your funds from Ethereum, which is Coinbase, which is fine. Like I said, you can withdraw your funds to your MetaMask, which has Ethereum on it. But once you have the funds in your MetaMask, to get it to Polygon, you're gonna have to bridge it. And that's where this thing comes in, Polygon bridge. I'm not gonna do that here just for the sake of time, but the steps how to bridge are literally right there. How to transfer funds from Ethereum to Matic. And that's fine. Just keep in mind, to bridge is based on gas fees on the Ethereum network. That's where the Ether comes in, because you'd be paying fees in gas. So right now to bridge is like $85, depending on the transaction, obviously, but it's expensive. That's the point I'm trying to make. With Binance, if you buy your funds, so Binance will do both for you. That's what I'm trying to explain. You can buy your funds in Binance because it's an exchange, and can withdraw your funds directly to Polygon after buying it on Binance, right? And that will cost you much less than the gas fees if you try to bridge it. Makes sense? Is everybody following? Does that make sense to everybody listening? Why I'm bringing up the Binance option? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's less hassle doing it through.
It's less hassle. You do it all in one step. You buy in the exchange, you withdraw. You just have to, again, like I said, you have to make sure when you're withdrawing, you select Polygon network. And of course, like I said, the address that you're going to be withdrawing to will be the address for the Polygon network in your hot wallets, which is why I said if you're using Coinbase, you're fine, because again, you just select, you first switch your network to Polygon. And obviously, if you're trying to, like, let's say, send funds from Binance to your Coinbase wallet, let's say if it's Matic or Day, you just have to go to Coinbase, make sure, again, your network is on Polygon. And then when you enter the app, right, you see there's an option for receive. When you type in receive, just type in like day. When you type in day, DAI, you see there's several options. The day you want will be the one that has the Polygon sign. And this is the Polygon sign right here. This is the Polygon sign right here. Is this thing right there? Really? See it right there? So if you're listening right now, you go to your wallet, you see send, receive, trade. If you hit receive, it will say search coin. If you type in DAI, like I said, you will see literally like 4 options. The one you want is the day, has that Polygon sign, right on the bottom right. The same thing if you type in Matic, right? The one you want is the polygon or Matic that has the polygon sign right on the bottom right. It's the same thing if you type in Ethereum, USDC, for instance, right? If you type in USDC, the one you want, if you send to Polygon, is the one that has the polygon sign right on the bottom right. And so once you click that, it will literally give you the address to share or copy so you can withdraw the funds to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Perfect.
So are you saying that if we use Coinbase, we don't have to use Binance? Like if we use Coinbase wallet, for example.
I'm saying if you use Coinbase wallet, you don't need to. The only thing I said is if you use Coinbase wallet, you don't need to add Matic to the network because it's already added for you.
Okay.
Right? If you're using Binance, Binance is not related to Coinbase or MetaMask. Binance is saying if you're going to use Binance, you can skip. Essentially, what I'm saying is you can skip step 3 because in Binance, it gives you the option to withdraw your funds directly to the Polygon network. If you're not using Binance and you're using another network like Coinbase, for instance, that's fine. Just understand, like I said, Coinbase, don't make it complicated. You don't have to remember these things. Just understand that Coinbase only supports withdrawals to the Ethereum network. So if you're going to withdraw from Coinbase, you're going to withdraw to your wallet, whether it's Coinbase wallet, whether it's MetaMask, whatever wallet you're withdrawing to, doesn't matter. You're going to withdraw to that wallet on the Ethereum network, right? So to get your funds after you've withdrawn it on the Ethereum network to the Polygon network, you're going to have to bridge it. That's where step 3 comes in. If you're going to use Binance or any other platform, centralized platforms like Binance, I'm saying Binance obviously is something they're familiar with, but there are others, right? So if you're going to use Binance, it gives you the option directly in the exchange to withdraw on a different blockchain other than the Ethereum network, specifically in this case, Polygon network. So you can withdraw directly to Polygon network and for much cheaper than if you try to bridge it, right? So again, I'm going to move on. If you have any more questions about that, go back and rewatch this post. I feel like I've repeated myself like 5 times there. So I just want to move on because of time. After doing that, you just follow again the step. It's very simple. Go to Instadapp, which we have opened here and we'll get to in a bit. It's a YouTube video. I literally have a YouTube video there too, because I understand some people are visual learners and that's totally fine. If you're a visual learner, hold on, meet that. So that's totally fine if you're a visual learner, because I understand some people are visual learners. This will literally tell you, so once you send the funds, this tells you how to set up the DSA, right? This is how to use Instadapp on Polygon, right? So this is a tutorial. So this tells you how to set up the DSA to get everything set up. So yeah, but the steps are also there to create the DSA, and it's literally, once you click on it, it will set up like this. It will show up like this once you try to connect it, and it'll give you the option to create a DSA. Remember, like I said, you don't jump to this step till you have your funds, specifically your DAI and Matic, your Polygon network, right? And so again, the YouTube video there is there as well to help. So after creating your DSA, right, you click on, so let's go to Instadapp. So after creating your DSA, it will look something like this, right? So let me try and switch to the Ethereum network to see. So it will look just like this, right? When you're first trying to do it on Polygon network, oops, I'm not sure what's happened there. You just have to hit create your account, right? I'm just trying to show you guys an example. So once you create your account, right, going back to Polygon, let's go back to Polygon. So once after you create your account, it will look something like this where you can deposit. So for instance, if I try to deposit, right, this is pulling the funds that are in the Matic network in my wallets. So in my wallets, I have like about 2 Matic on the Polygon network in my MetaMask, and this $5 there is for transactions. So this is, of course, as you can imagine, the same way you use Ether for gas fees on the Ethereum network, you use Matic for gas fees on the Polygon network. And so I have some Matic in my network to use for gas fees, but when I want to try out different strategies, which we'll talk about in a bit, on the Instadapp, right? And so once you create your DSA, like I was saying, on the dashboard icon, dashboard page, the icon looks like a home icon, this is the dashboard. So you just click the icon that looks like a home icon. Again, like I said, I tried to make this as simple as possible, I promise. forget all that that initial intimidation, get rid of it, right? Just follow the steps. And I promise you guys will realize this is as simple as it can get. Just remember, try small, try where you're comfortable with. If that's $100, $200, by all means, try small, right? So yeah, so once you've get on the home icon and deposit your day, which should have been bridged to Polygon, it should show up in your DSA after you created it. So that's right here. So when you hit deposits, if you have day in there, the same way I have my Matic and my network that's showing up right here, you have your day and you can deposit your day, right? So this is what you're trying to earn yield on, and you have the option to deposit it. So once you deposit that, okay, so once you deposit, which is the next step, actually, I'm tempted to just jump to it, but I want to actually go back to the post and show you guys the next step. So you guys just see how like easy and all it is to follow. So after depositing your day, then go to the protocols page. The icon looks like a cloud on a railway. That's the best way I could describe it, right? So cloud on a railway, that's this right here. You click on that and you select AVE, right? So you click on the icon page and you select AVE, and that's right here. And so once you've deposited that amount, so in this case, so once you have deposited your amount, you see that, what is it? It should say balance. Where is it? Anyways, that's fine. So once you've deposited your amount, right? So literally, if you wanted to, so for instance, so, and I'll explain, so once you have the deposit amount, I just want to show you an example. If you wanted to supply this case, or actually, let me go to something that's brand new, that I haven't supplied yet. So if you wanted to supply, for instance, USDC, you just hit supply, and then basically you'll see how much balance you have of the token right there. So in this case, it's obviously showing 0.009 because I don't have USDC in there, but after you've deposited your day, if you wanted to supply day, for instance, so you just hit supply right here, you'll see that there'll be a token balance in your DSA, and that's what it's saying right here, add token. So you see that token balance show up, and it will look something like this, right? Where you can simply just select the amount you want to supply and just hit supply. So once you've supplied that day, then you can start earning yield on it. Now, but specifically, I want to show you guys in this thing, and I'll walk you through it here, the different strategies, right? I'll show you guys different strategies you can do, right? There are primarily, oh, before I jump into this, any questions so far? Are you guys there?
Yeah.
Okay, so no questions? Oh, this is it. This is what I was looking for. So this is where you see your balance. Oh, perfect. So this is where you see your balance, of course, after you've deposited it, right? Okay. So the main strategy I'll talk about is there's leverage, max, and mining strategy, which is really cool. And but you understand why I'm not using it right now. There's save and unwind mining. There's collateral swap, depth swap, deposit, payback. But before we do that, I want to talk about a few things so you guys understand what these different things mean. CF is called collateral factor. So basically, this is pretty much a factor of how much you can borrow against whatever you're holding. So for instance, you see the CF is 0. So this is basically telling you if you're supplying USDT, you cannot borrow any amount against it, right? And obviously the liquidation limit is 0 because the CF is 0. So for instance, let's look at, for instance, with day, where it says CF is 0.75. This basically means, and again, these things, it literally explains to you what these different things are. I just want you to keep them in mind. So basically, if you have a CF of 0.75, basically means if you have $100 worth of Ether, you can borrow $75 worth of another asset. However, with stable coins, that basically means if you have $100, you can borrow $75 of another asset. However, but what now there's the issue. This is why with stable farming, I recommend staying with stables. If you're going to stable farm, that means if you're going to supply a stable coin, whatever you borrow should also be a stable coin. So if you think about it, let's say, for instance, I supply $100 worth of day, and I borrow $75 worth of Ether. Can anyone tell me what could possibly go wrong here? Take a wild guess. Anybody could guess. So it has a collateral factor of 75. And oh, let me say liquidation limit. Liquidation limit basically is the limit or the point beyond which if it goes above, if the amount you borrow divided by your collateral, if that ratio should go above 0.8, which is liquidation limit, that means I lose my collateral, I get liquidated. So for instance, in this example, if I supply $100 worth of day, for instance, and I borrow, if I try to borrow $80 worth of day, I basically get liquidated. Now, going back to my question, right? If you have, again, $100 worth of day, right? And let's say you borrow $75. Let's even say $70 worth of Ether. What could potentially go wrong? Anybody take a guess?
The Ether price could fluctuate and then you can end up owing more than.
Exactly. The Ether price could fluctuate. Say if I borrow $70 worth of Ether, Ether could go up next week, and that's $70. Ooh. Oh, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know why. Wait, I don't know why my screen is. Can y'all still see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, let me go back to share my screen. Right, let's see. Just stop sharing. No. Okay, can y'all hear me now?
Yeah,
Okay,
I can
perfect.
hear you.
I don't know what the hell. Just literally turned off all my anyways, but it's fine. Okay, so going back to what I was saying, yes. So if you have, so what Nima was saying, if you have Ether, I'm about to share my screen now. Let me know if you guys can see it. And yeah, don't worry, I know you guys can see my screen yet. So I'm about to share it. How about now? Can you see it?
Yeah.
Perfect. So if you have Ether, right? Let me go back. Yes. So perfect. So if you borrow $100 worth of, and you guys can see my screen, correct? Just gonna ask the last time. Oh,
Yep.
okay,
Yes.
perfect. So if you borrow $100 worth of Ether, I'm sorry, if you supply $100 worth of day, you borrow $70 worth of Ether. If the price of Ether goes up next week above $80, you will get liquidated, right? Because and your collateral factor, rather your D to C, which is your debt to collateral ratio, will be above 80% or 0.8, and that's above your liquidation limit. So yes, you get liquidated, which is why I tell people all the time, if you're stable farming, stick with stables, because stables don't appreciate in price, and it's peace of mind, right? Don't be greedy. People do it all the time. Don't get me wrong. People would literally borrow money, right? Now, a smarter thing to do is if you were so keen on buying ETH, you're probably better off supplying day, right? Borrowing. Oh, let me connect my wallet. Oh, why did it say error? Oh. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for 1 second. I'm logged back into my MetaMask, and then I'll share my screen again. Sure. But going back to what I was saying, right? So if you want to do something like that, you probably have just better borrowing day. You borrow a day, you withdraw a day, and then use the day to buy the token on a different platform. That way, your debt will still be registered as a stable. But does that make sense so far? Why I'm saying like whatever you're borrowing versus lending should stick to stables. Does that make sense why I said that?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So now going back to this, so there are 6 different strategies, a bunch of strategies you can do. The main ones I'll talk about is leverage max mining. Basically, the way this works is, now granted, obviously, I'm not using this strategy with USDT because as you can see, obviously, has a collateral factor of 0, so I cannot borrow against it. So for instance, if you want to see me go and try this, if I try to borrow against my USDT, even if I try to borrow $1 worth of day, you see, it will say position will liquidate because the collateral factor is low. The cool thing about this is basically, this is what I was trying to get at. And this is one of the strategies we talk about. So if you go back down here, I just want to also let you guys know, everything I'm saying is in these posts, are in these posts written out. So for instance, the safe passive option, I tell people, so this is the option where if you wanted to just put your money, and on average, this earns you around 14, 15% APY. So I'll say it's pretty safe in the sense of, because DAY and USDC have some of the most stable rates for lending and borrowing on AVE. Okay, so that means basically that they're stable and they don't fluctuate. Like for instance, you can see USDT is going crazy today. That's why I again switched over my strategy to just USDT, because again, this is earning me 10% plus today. But obviously tomorrow it could dip down, it could dip back down to like 5% or 10%. But again, if you want the safe and passive option, use the DAY USDC strategy, where DAY is your collateral and USDC is your debt, right? And I recommend not letting your DC ratio exceed 70%. And that is by using the leverage max mining strategy. So what that simply means is if you have DAY and supply DAY, the same way I have here, USDT is my collateral because that's literally what I supplied, right? I would just simply have DAY, and what I supplied for DAY will show up. So in this case, it'd probably be 1,000 rather than 572. And then I can take on debt in USDC. Now, here's why I say take on debt in USDC. And I want you guys to understand this. So I've talked about this side. So this percentage you see here, right, is the interest you're earning by supplying money to the AVE marketplace. Okay. This one you see here in Matic is extra interest you earn by using AVE marketplace on Polygon. So the total and all your interest is paid out in the form of Matic, right? That's why I see if you go back to early in the post, I say stable farming, blah, 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 blah. And I reference it somewhere there, basically earning yield in Matic. That's the whole point of why I really like this platform, because again, if you guys know, Matic is one of our bag holders. So this is why, even though I'm stable farming, I'm really farming Matic because that's what I'm harvesting right here. Okay, so going back to what I was saying about the thing, this again, going back to these numbers, this number right there is how much you get as interest paid to you for supplying to AVE. And this is also extra interest you get for using AVE marketplace. On this side, however, because it's borrowing, this is interest you're paying AVE. This still interest that is paid to you for using AVE marketplace. So in this case, the net interest you're actually paying, for instance, if you were to borrow USDT, would be 2.22 minus 6.86. I'm explaining that just so you understand all four numbers listed here. So the ones that Matic are always interest paid to you, okay, using the marketplace, whether it's to supply, whether it's to borrow. These are the ones with the Matic right next to it. However, these numbers varies based on whether you're supplying or borrowing. If you're supplying, this is interest paid to you. If you're borrowing, pretty intuitive, this is interest you're paying AVE, okay? Now, going back to why I say use DAY USDC, DAY, it's up to you. So in this case, a DAY would be smarter, right? Because obviously you're gonna get paid this, right? And then, if any of you add these up, you see that this plus this is higher than this plus this. But what's key here, whether you use DAY as your collateral, as your debt when you're doing this strategy, or USDC, is based on the difference in these numbers. As you can see, this difference is smaller now, but typically, hear me out, typically, it's always typically small in USDC, right? Because typically the borrow interest rate is probably around 5%. But in USDC, the difference is usually fixed around 1.5, meaning that the net interest you're paying to borrow USDC will probably be always around 1.5. And while the net interest is more like 3-4%. So obviously in a case like this, it's smarter to borrow USDC to borrow DAY. using this strategy. And this strategy is cool too, because one second, this strategy is cool too, because with this strategy, so you can see here now, right? So if you're doing, so just imagine here for a second, obviously this is smaller. If you were doing this strategy, leverage, again, you borrow USDC debt. So for instance, if I wanted to borrow $4 of USDC debt, for instance, you can see that this is saying this is saying liquidate, but basically you had this, hold on. Oh yeah, this is not good because of this. Oh shoot. Okay, let me use this number just for sake, just so as an illustration. Imagine for a second there's this USDC, right? And let's say I wanted to borrow $1,000. Now, obviously it's gonna liquidate, right? Because again, we're using USDT, which has a collateral factor of 0. But if we're using DAY, which has a collateral factor of 75, right? We're not going to liquidate because obviously this is below 75. Well, typically the cool thing about this strategy is like, you guys should pay attention to these numbers. With $1,000, if this was in DAY, and obviously which will not liquidate because of the collateral factor, with $1,045 in DAY, if this was DAY, again, like I said, bear with me, I could borrow up to $1,500, actually $2,000, and still be under the 70%, 75% collateral factor. And I remember, if you go back to the post, I recommend being below 70% to give yourself space. I'll still be under the 70% because with this strategy, the amount of USDC you're borrowing, which is right there, 2,000 USDC, you're taking that money and adding that back towards your collateral so you can earn even more yield with extra money that you're putting down towards collateral. Does that make sense? So the strategy basically borrows USDC debt, which is you borrow the debt, you swap that debt you borrow for whatever your collateral is, and you deposit it as collateral so you can earn more yield. And it does all of that in one transaction. Again, just to reiterate for those who are probably rewatching this or who will rewatch this, it's saying liquidate because again, we're using USDT, which has a collateral factor of 0. If we were using DAY, the DC, so that's a collateral percentage of 65%. We're still much below the collateral factor 0.75 and much below the liquidation limit of 80%. So this would not say liquidate if you could just imagine for a second that this was DAY. Now that said, any questions so far?
I think you answered my question because I was gonna ask why do we need to borrow? Like why don't we just supply and get the 20-some% or whatever?
The reason why I had to borrow, because you can imagine, like I said, if you add these two, so for instance, if we were to use the DAY and USDC strategy, and that's a great question, Komi. If you were to add these two, right, 2.85 plus 1.76, right, that's about 4.6%. And in this case, with USDC to borrow, so you're getting paid 4.7. So let me add again, 2.85 plus 1.76, 2.85 plus 1.76. That's 4.61% to supply. In this case, to borrow, remember, it's going to be 3.81 minus 2.24. That's 1.57%. So that 1.57% you borrow, so the $2,000 worth, you're paying 1.57% interest on it, right? Borrow. You just do this minus this. You take that same 2,000 and you supply it as DAY, which is what this leverage maximizing strategy is. You're now earning 4.6% interest for that extra 2,000 you borrowed. So basically, in a sense, so that's why I tell people DeFi is really cool because you get paid to borrow money with DeFi. Because that leverage, again, I'm gonna just reiterate it, right? So you type in the 2,000, again, just to reiterate, just to reiterate for those who are not on the call, saying liquidate because it's USDT. So imagine for a second this was DAY, we'll not be saying liquidate. So just reiterating. But again, imagine for a second this was DAY. It's $2,000, like I just pointed out, you'd be paying what was the number now? 1.57% interest on it. You just simply do this minus this. Then when you add that in and deposit it again, right? Again, imagine this was DAY, deposit it again, you'll be earning on that same $2,000, 4.61 interest on it. Obviously, anybody will tell you do the math there, you're earning, for that $2,000 we borrowed, we're essentially leveraging a strategy that's paying us to borrow that money. And that's the whole concept behind the leverage max mining strategy. Okay. And just for the sake of time, because I know we've got 20 more minutes here, so I'm just going to rush through these. I'm just saying that now, again, using the same concept, the riskier, more active option is to use day USDT. And even in a case like this, right, I'm not even using day USDT. I'm just simply supplying USDT because I simply just added the numbers and I see that, oh, wow, these are juicy yields. Now, in a similar sense, if you wanted to, and I'm going to go over this really quickly. If you had like a leverage max mining strategy, for instance, where you had day that you're lending and USDC that you're borrowing, if you wanted to exit the strategy, you just simply hit, that's what this save and unwind mining is. So for instance, in the case like this, if you had like $1,000 day or it would probably say $3,000 day. So in previous examples we just talked about, you had like $3,000 day and $2,000 debt. You just type in $2,000, however much day. In this case, obviously, it's not like going to let me type more than that. How much day you sell so you can pay off your debt. If you wanted to pay off your debt entirely, right, which would be 2,000 in USDC, you just type in 2,000 year and hit execute, and you can see clearly it will pay off the debt. That makes sense. I know I don't have the examples here. I don't have it here, but once you play around with it, you see what I'm talking about. Save, again, just to reiterate, leverage max mining essentially helps you to borrow. Again, I use this with day as my collateral, and I just talked about that and why you should never use this strategy with USDT because it has a CF of 0. Leverage max mining is a strategy I use with day as my collateral to maximize yield because essentially I can borrow money and get paid to borrow money. Save and unwind mining, that's a strategy I actually used this morning to literally essentially eliminate my leverage max mining and specifically my USDC. And then there's collateral swap. Collateral swap is exactly as it sounds. If I wanted to swap 4,004 of my 45 of my USDT per day, for instance, if let's say I would decide tomorrow yields cool off for USDT, maybe it goes back down to like 5%, right? And let's say, okay, I'm done with this strategy. I want to go back to my leverage max mining strategy. Just like the name implies, I can swap my collateral, my USDT for day, and then use the leverage max mining strategy I just outlined. The same thing with debt swap. So for instance, if you had, let's say you had the day USDC leverage max mining strategy, and just like as we just discussed on the call today, in today specifically, which doesn't happen often, it's actually cheaper, more cost effective to be borrowing day. Because again, if you do the math, you just do 3.98 minus 3.32. So 3.98 minus 3.32, we're only going to be paying 0.66% interest to borrow day to day versus the 1.51 year. So in case like this, if you wanted to swap your debt, you just do just that. You just swap your debt. In this case, it'll be USDC. I can swap my debt for day. So that way my leverage max mining strategy will be day. All right. Any questions on this so far? Only one question, because I want to make sure I spend time for the other two we're about to talk about. Any questions? Is anybody there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So if no questions, I'm assuming you guys are following.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, good. Now, even literally, again, just going back, I put it there, exiting error. I put it there if you get an error, because sometimes the managed network gets overloaded and you have to increase your gas limit to 1K GUI. It happens. And that is literally, I'm just going to show an example of how to do that. So let's say, for instance, if I wanted to do a let's say, for instance, just really quickly, if I want to do a collateral swap, let's say I want to swap, I'm not doing it, but let's say I want to swap my USDT for A. Let's say I just wanted to do $500 worth, right? So I'll say swap collateral. Okay. So in this case, all I do is, I'm not getting an error now, right? But if I was, right, if you hit confirm, you see like an error, right? But if I was to simply do that, you just retry the transactions, you just hit edit, and then you do edit suggested gas fees, and you see where it says 30 GUI for the gas price, you can just increase that to 1,000. And that way you ensure, so that's called front running a transaction basically. So in that way, you basically ensure that your transaction is prioritized. Think of it like bribing the miner. Like, oh well, this is not mining because this is Polygon, so it's proof of stake. Think of it as bribing the stakers. So the people who are processing your transaction, think of it as like, hey, I will pay way more in gas fees just so you can process my transaction quickly. That's essentially what you're doing when you go in and increase the GUI to 1K GUI. And of course, I've talked about this already, save and unwind strategy, how to do it. And if you ever want to withdraw your funds, you can withdraw directly to any wallet. So basically, if you want to withdraw this, you just would hit withdraw. I can withdraw this money, 2 cents. I can say set max. And it's, nope, I didn't want to do that. So I can withdraw to my MetaMask directly, but this is what I wanted to show you guys. If you hit advanced options to withdraw, you can withdraw your funds basically from your DSA to basically any address that you want, provided it's Polygon supported, because obviously this is on Polygon. So you just withdraw to any Polygon address, right? And similarly, anything else to cover? No, that's it. And oh yeah, if you want to claim your MATIC, similarly, you can claim your MATIC, you can withdraw it to either your MetaMask or any Polygon address as well of your choice. Does that make sense? Any questions so far? Okay, I'll take that as no questions. And this strategy, so this next post, yeah, I'm running through this, December 23rd, 2021. What we're basically combining everything we just discussed now about you farming on Instadapp. And I'm saying, hey, other cool thing is you can now take this your MATIC. So in a case like this, I'm going to be doing mine quarterly. So I started doing this in December. So I don't plan on claiming the MATIC that I have to maybe sometime in March or April, just so I can be, because obviously you don't want to be doing it every day. Then obviously you're just doing a lot of transactions and it's not cost effective to do that. But basically my goal is really once I hit like 30, 40 MATIC, that's like my threshold to start withdrawing and staking. But the idea is, if you go to this post, there are 2 options I've put down here. Again, going back to the post, everything here ahead is just talking to you about stable farming, which is everything we've just covered. And this is the post again, December 23rd, 2021. It was a weekly tip, right? I give you 2 options for taking that your MATIC reward. So you can see back when I made this post in December, I had only farmed about 1.3 MATIC, and obviously you see today, up to 12, right? And so that's the cool thing as well. You're farming and earning yield in an appreciating assets, which I think is pretty cool. I don't know if that's cool to you guys, but I think that's cool to me. And there are 2 options, right? So when you claim your rewards, you can basically use your rewards to essentially stake it on Vesper.fi, which we're going to talk about right now in a little bit. And then the other option, of course, is if you wanted to stake it directly on the MATIC network to earn 12% APY. And I have the post for step-by-step how to do that. I'm not going to cover it now for sake of time. But again, I promise you guys, everything is there outlined. How to essentially take your MATIC from your stable farm. So essentially, if you have US dollars, you're going to earn anywhere from 15 to, as you guys can see today, up to 32% APY or more on your US dollar. You're going to farm MATIC, and then periodically, to you guys' preference, you can take that MATIC and earn an additional 12% or more on it with whether it's staking directly on the network or Vesper Finance, which actually I'm going to talk about now. Because you can see that the MATIC, for instance, the MATIC rewards year for Vesper Finance is about 13%. Same thing year with Day, which I think is pretty cool. I like the fact that with Day, so that's the thing to keep in mind, and something with Day, a lot of your earnings would be earning in VSP. You can see that's right here that you earn. But the thing about this is, like, as you deposit more and more, your VSP goes to something called a drip pool. So for instance, I actually have more than this because every time you deposit, they take your VSP, they keep it in a drip pool. And you don't basically, the only thing I'll say about Vesper Finance is the bulk of your earnings will be in VSP tokens, and you don't get to claim it until you exit the pool, right? So that's the only thing I'll say, keep in mind with when you're using Vesper Finance. Really nice earnings rate, but again, the bulk of it you earn in VSP. So for instance, for reference, I've been doing this for like what sorry, I said 2 or 3 days. That's not true. Like a week now, but it's been since I increased it to like 1,400. It's only been like 3 days, admittedly. And I think I've earned like maybe up to like 1.5 VSPs, and a VSP is like $5, I think. VSP token. But are you guys still there? I'm just trying to make sure. I just have to ask because it's so quiet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so VSP is like $5.64. So basically, I've earned close to $7 since I started staking, which has been nice. But again, like I said, keep that in mind. So for me personally, I love this marketplace, even though sometimes the yields aren't as juicy as Vespa 5. But I love this marketplace because I'm earning yield in manage. And manage is something that obviously you guys know we're bullish on the platform. VSP, not so much. But again, I'm still testing it out. It is cool. And this one is super easy. You literally, let me go to the post. I've been talking about it, but I want to talk about it real quick. So these 2 posts I talk about, right? Yield farming, Ethereum, which is January 5th, 2022, and January 5th, 2022, again, earning up to 20% on Polygon. These 2 are both on Vesper Finance platform. And I put the link to all of them right there. I literally go step by step, right? Similarly, I'm gonna say this again. When I say bridge your assets to Polygon, again, you can bridge your assets to Polygon using the instructions and using the Polygon bridge here, or we're gonna reiterate again, if you have Binance, you can do these in 1 step on the exchange, okay? So keep that in mind. But yeah, it's the same platform, just that literally says HTTPS app Vespa Finance Polygon. And the other one is literally app Vespa Finance /ETH. And I'll show you how to go back and forth now between Polygon. So literally, see this drop down menu? You can alternate back and forth between Ethereum, your funds in Ethereum, and you want to use Ethereum. Of course, keep in mind the gas fees are higher every time you deposit and withdraw and so on and so forth on Polygon. I recommend Polygon. Gas fees are cheaper. But I'm gonna show you both. I'm gonna show you the interest rates on both. So any questions so far on this? And it's really simple. This one is much more straightforward than the one we just discussed. So the one we just discussed, where you have to set up the DSA, you have the different strategies. I still think that is simple, but obviously it's more complex. This one, all you literally have to do is connect your wallet. So again, same thing. If you're using Manage Network for the first time, make sure you've added Polygon to your Manage. But once you've done that, like we discussed previously, you literally just connect your wallet, hit deposit, and once you have your wallet. So obviously I have no day in my wallet now, but if I added like $1,000, literally just tell you can deposit however much you want. And that's it. Any questions so far on this? I'll say that's enough. So the yields on Ethereum, I'll show you guys. So Ethereum, you can see here the yields. So you can see 10% on day. DPI, somebody asked about DPI. This is what I was gonna say, we're getting to it. So DPI, yeah, so if you have DPI, it's only available on Ethereum for now, but yeah, you can absolutely see right there. Deposit your DPI and you're gonna earn about, obviously, again, going back, the bulk of it is in VSP, but you earn up to 21% interest farming on it. And there are also different earn pools where you can put day and earn in DPI, put day. So you can see this is super cool. You can see this is like 37%, 34%. You can put day, earn in ETH, day, earn in DPI, put day, earn in BTC. You can put BTC, earn in day. Like there's several options. Like this, Vespa is one of the most slept on platforms in DeFi right now because it simplifies the whole process. And if you actually learn more about them, it's really cool because it's a way to incentivize almost like the best yield farmers. So in each pool, there's about 5% fee when you withdraw that's paid to the platform. Now they're starting a platform where basically if you're a yield farmer, you can recommend a yield farming strategy. And basically, rather than the platform being paid that 5% fee, if you're a yield farmer, you're going to be paid the fee. So what you're seeing is they're the first platform to incentivize. Basically, if you have a great yield farming strategy, come propose it to them. And if you get approved, then people deposit their money, which you can see how many money people deposit by clicking on it. See, this one has about $122,000, and yeah, you can earn some serious bread, basically. So they're essentially remaining competitive and maintaining their edge and providing one of the best yields out there as a platform. Again, super straightforward. Instructions to using it are both on year and year. And yeah, actually, those were the last two things I want to discuss. And again, instructions are there. Earn pools, growth pools. Please go over them. I also put a post there for the risk associated with yield farming, so you understand the risk and everything. Just to reiterate, as far as risk goes, the CeFi platforms are, I'll say, the most risk-free. I would say the Instadapp one is also pretty risk-free too, because unlike the other ones, the Instadapp one is, see, this is the thing, cool thing about Instadapp. One, Aave is already an established, Aave has like billions. Actually, you know what? Let me show you guys. Total value locked DeFi, just so you guys understand the extent to Aave. Aave right now has about 11 billion. You can see that there is top 4. These are the top lending platforms, right? They want to focus on lending specifically. And you can see Instadapp is also up there. Instadapp has 10.3 billion. Aave has 11.17 billion. So Instadapp and Aave combined are the top 2 lending platforms in DeFi. What I'm trying to tell you is, as far as blue chip DeFi platforms go, Aave and Instadapp are up there. So they're pretty safe, okay? They're pretty safe. And also the cool thing about these strategies is you're controlling it. So if you're the kind of person that wants to have control over exactly how you're earning yield, that's the incentive of using these platforms, because this is pretty risk-free. Like in this case, for instance, I'm earning 32% yield, but you can see all I'm doing is supplying USDT. I'm not borrowing any money. So there's no way I can get liquidated because this is single-sided. I'm not borrowing money, it's risk-free. And now when I'm stable farming, right? If I do use this leverage max mining strategy and use day, provided I stay under 70%, and provided that whatever I'm borrowing, my debt, is also a stable coin, so I know it's not going to appreciate, that is also risk-free too, because you're giving yourself that 5% buffer from the 75%, and especially 85%. So really a 10% buffer from the 80% liquidation limit. So that's the incentive about Aave, because again, it could be risk-free provided you're using the right strategy. And also, again, the 2 platforms you're using are pretty well established. Now, VesperFi, especially in their aggressive pools, I mentioned this there, the difference in understanding growth pools and earn pools, and the difference between their conservative and aggressive strategies. So you can see, if I go back to VesperFi, yes, this is an aggressive pool that I'm using. And if you note there what they said about the risk of their aggressive pools, you can see that their aggressive pools have a higher collateralization ratio, meaning that you're borrowing more debt to maximize yield. Makes sense. And their conservative strategies have a higher collateralization ratio, meaning that you're borrowing less debt than the aggressive strategy. Makes sense, of course. The aggressive strategy will push more and more towards that liquidation limit. Obviously, they're conservative pools, and these are all on their website, by the way. Conservative pools are interacting primarily with blue chip DeFi protocols, which are like Instadapp and Aave, like we just mentioned, whereas the aggressive strategies could be interacting with much less established protocols. So there's obviously more risks baked into that, right? So VesperFi is also, again, it's easier to use from a UX standpoint, but there's more risk, I would say, with VesperFi, especially their growth pools. For earn pools, they tout as being relatively safe, but their growth pools, obviously, they put there as aggressive, right? And so that's something I'll say. And yeah, so that's why I have like limited amount there. And I had way more, just in case you're wondering why. Okay, so if that's the case, why do I have more in my VesperFi than Aave? Well, I had way more in my Aave. I just gave in recently, and I withdrew some day to buy some positions. Matic was one of them, actually. So I just basically, in the past day or two, spent some money shopping for some crypto. And I plan to top this back up soon. So just in case you were wondering why I have less here than I did in VesperFi, that's why. I just deployed some capital. And if you follow my Twitter, you know I post every day, basically, why you should yield farm. So I had way more here. Any questions? That's a rush through that like a bruh. No questions?
Yeah.
All right, well, that's all I had. Thank you
Alright.
guys for staying. I hope you guys found this useful, and good luck yield farming.
Yeah, thanks, man. The recording is gonna be on the Patrons, right? Or where?
Yeah, it should be. Yeah.
All right.
All
Cheers.
right. All right, man. All right, y'all have a good one.
Yeah, you
Thanks.
too.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.